You're not confused. You're listening to too many voices. Hello and welcome to the Midweek Reboot. I'm Mayan, and this is your time to pause, to think, and to reconnect with what actually matters in your work right now. And thank you for joining me. I hope you can hear me. Thumbs up if you can hear me. You can just drop it in the chat. Thank you, Yesh, for confirming. So, I'd like to start this live with an analogy. Think about something as simple as eating healthy. One week, eggs are good for you. Next week, too many eggs will kill you. Full cream milk versus low fat. Fasting versus eating six small meals. Supplements is good for you versus just eating real food. So, for every topic, there is a new expert around the corner with a new definitive answer. And that expert knows it all. And then there's another expert that pops up, and they're telling you something else. And the moment you've committed to one approach, someone else publishes research and that says the opposite. So, this is the world of information. There's so many things that's coming at us. I use the analogy of food, but now imagine the same noise applied to your career, your leadership style, your productivity, your responses to AI, your professional development. There's coaches, there's gurus, there's so many books, programs, communities, all coming at you with different information, different frameworks, different certainties. All of them are confident, and many of them are contradictory. And this year confuses you. So there's a specific kind of tiredness that doesn't come from overworking. It comes from holding too many other people's opinions at the same time as your own. And the more advice you consume, the heavier it gets. So most people assume the solution is better information. Tonight, I want to suggest it might be the opposite. And tell me in the chats, is this something that you find that there's so much information coming at you at the same time? And how do you feel? And my question as well, once you put that down, give me a rough number. How many external sources are you currently getting professional direction right now? So there's communities, newsletters, there's coaches, there's programs, there's podcasts. So don't overthink it, put a number in. I'd love to see what comes up. So for me, there would be lots of YouTubers that I watch, and there's different things that's being said. Sometimes sometimes they say, put out mini shorts, and I tried that. Then I was told I'm putting out too many shorts because then the algorithm will read my YouTube channel as for shorts only and push it to a certain audience group. So then I had to cut down on that. So there's different views, there's different opinions that come at you at the same time. So there's a responsive ear, no direction taken from others except from you, really. Okay, that's really great. Thanks, Yesh. But it's also important that when we listen to other people as well, they can inform our views, but we should not defer to them to make up our decisions for us. So you can gather information for yourself, but don't let them make the decision for you. And the rest is too overwhelming. And that's so true. In any subject, for that matter, not only your work, when there's too many voices over there, it becomes overwhelming. Then it's, what do you believe? What do you follow? And therefore, I use the example of the analogy of food. What do you actually do? Because there's so many competing views. So when you invest in a program, a community, a coach, you're not just buying knowledge or a faster path. You're actually buying reduced risk. Now think about it, that if something goes wrong, there's a system to point to. If something goes right, then there's also that system that you can attribute that credit to. So that's what happens when you're buying a program, a community, or getting into a community or a coach. Either way, you don't have to fully stand on a decision. But that transaction feels rational and responsible, but underneath it, there's discomfort of owning a decision completely by yourself. So you're relegating decisions to that entity, be it a person, a program, a community. And are you taking full ownership of it? So that's why we do it. Now, let me show you what it actually looks like when it's happening, because most people don't recognize it in themselves until someone names it. And a lot of my lives, the topics that I cover, it's based on what's happening in my life, what I see in the workplace, what I come across. So I bring it over here to share it so that we can also be aware of it. This live was inspired by something that happened in my life. At a certain point, I made a significant investment. I spent time, money, energy in external direction that I believed that will accelerate what I was building on the side, because I needed assistance from a YouTube perspective. I wasn't wrong to want that, but I hadn't examined what I was really buying. Not just to be on a faster path or reduce risk. It's a shared framework to point to if things went wrong. And that changes the nature of the decision you're making. So basically, I went onto something with not really examining it fully. I looked at the outer and how that came across. But and yes, there were good reasons to go into it. But then once you're into something as well, then um, there's conflicting messages, and that can confuse you as well, especially if you don't know your way around as yet. So my question to you is, when you're facing a significant professional decision, what's your honest first instinct? Do you trust your own read of the situation or look for external validation first? So, this is a pattern that I want to share with you. There's a response, usually talk it out. And that's good as well. When you talk it out, you also processing your own thoughts. But who you talk it out with is also important, because there's impressions that can be left uh, by another person. So, also sometimes, and we're going to get into it as well, what you should do. And remember, what I'm putting when I talk about the voices, I'm also a voice, an external person speaking to you. These are thoughts that I'm offering, and it's not something for you to live by. See what works for you, what doesn't, what resonates, and then you put that into effect. So I want to share 4 ways this shows up, these patterns. And I want you to listen for yourself in these, not as a sequence you move through, but as patterns you might recognize. Because sometimes you might be doing one thing, or based on the context, you might be moving to one or two things. So it's not about being judgmental and looking and criticizing yourself. It's about just recognizing. So the first pattern that you might see is the healthy reach. You seeking input during genuine uncertainty. And therefore, Yesh's response over here, not usually talk it out. Now, this is where where it comes in. You're in genuinely unfamiliar territory, and you don't have enough information to decide alone. So you seek input, you talk it out, you get it, you make the decision, and you move forward. The external input serves your thinking, it helps you to process your thoughts. It doesn't replace it because you are still making the decision. It's just informing you with more information. So you still own the decision at the end. You just used other people to help you think it through. Now, this is healthy. This is normal. And this is not what we're talking about tonight. So, if that's the healthy reach, then spot on. Continue with that. Then there's pattern 2. That's the automatic reach. It's seeking as a habit, regardless of whether you actually need it. So you reach outward before you've even finished your own thinking. It becomes a reflex. So you defer the thinking for yourself, and then you outsource it to somebody else to make the decision. The discomfort of uncertainty that triggers the seeking, not genuine need for information. So you've gotten used to it, or you might feel uncomfortable to make the decision. So it triggers the need to reach out. You find yourself asking for opinions on decisions you already know the answer to. And if you sit with it long enough, we all have the answers to the questions we're asking. Sometimes we don't want to make those decisions. Sometimes we shy away from it. So the seeking feels productive. It looks like you're doing your due diligence, but it's actually you're avoiding making the decision. You recognize this pattern when you notice you're consulting others before you've consulted yourself. So you need to sit with the decision or sit with the issue and determine what exactly are you feeling. Then there's pattern 3, the dependency. You're unable to trust your own judgment without external confirmation. So your own thinking no longer feels sufficient by itself. It needs to be confirmed before you'll act on it. You feel relief when someone agrees with you, not because you learned something new, but because you needed the permission. It's validating, and you're taking away the responsibility to take that decision. So the internal voice is still there and still working. You just learn to distrust it. So it comes to how much do you trust yourself? Even when you know the answer, you delay acting until someone else has signed off, until someone else gives you the go ahead. And this isn't about lacking intelligence. It's about what happens when you've consistently outsourced the final call. And then there's pattern number four, which is the over manager. Knowing what you think, but softening and hedging or delaying. You know exactly what you think and exactly what needs to be said or done. But the moment you sense there's potential tension, then you shy away from that conflict or you soften the edges. You rewrite messages three times. You leave a door open you meant to close. You say, let me think about it. When you've already thought about it, you know what your response is, but you delay it. You call it, let me be thoughtful or considerate. And sometimes it genuinely is. But there's a version of it that's you just avoiding conflict, dressed in that professional language, and deep down you know which one it is. So those are the four patterns. It's the healthy reach, and if you got that, that's good because you're not outsourcing the thinking, you're just bringing in additional information to make your decision. The automatic reach, seeking as a habit, regardless of whether you actually need it. Then there's the dependency, you're unable to trust your own judgment without external confirmation. And there's the over manager, knowing what you think but softening it and delaying it. In the chats, you can indicate which pattern are you usually seeing in yourself, and do you tend to go from one to another depending on context? So another story from my side is there was a specific moment very recently, a situation where I knew exactly what the right call was. And instead of simply making it, I spent my time looking at the message, reworking the message, and then eventually I sent the message. And it was about how would the other person take it. I knew what the decision was, but I wanted to be polite in my response. So being one can be polite but not delay. So I considered it how I'm going to respond. I thought about it, but then I was delaying actually sending the message. So what I realized in the moment, I'm trying to manage other people's reactions instead of doing what I knew was right. And sometimes it's context, and we tend to do that. A lot of the times, I don't defer. I know what my decision is, but then how it's going to be received, then that might delay me, as I found myself in recently as well. And yes, there's depending on context, I may go from one to another. And yes, I can relate to that because I'm the same as well. So here's a question. Think of a recent situation where you knew what you thought. So a recent situation where you knew what you deciding and what you thought, but you softened it, you delayed it, or you waited for someone to confirm it before you acted. What was underneath that hesitation? What made you react in that way? And for me, it was in my recent situation, it was how would that be taken? How would it be received? And therefore, I hesitated and I reread those messages. So, input that sharpens your thinking is useful, but input that replaces your thinking, that's bad. That's negative. The difference isn't in the source, it's in what happens to your own voice when you consume it. Does it get clearer or does it get quieter? So you can take that input, and it goes back to what Yesh said earlier as well. It will help to shape what she's thinking and help. So that's talking about it helps to process it, but it's not making the her voice quieter, it's making it clearer because it's she's processing her thoughts. And she says, I have a very overbearing client, but I try to soften my interactions with them to keep the peace. I don't push back. So there's certain times that you stand your ground in terms of what you're deciding, and there's certain times that you have to give way and soften the blow, so to speak. So I guess over here as well, it depends on context. So remember, when you're getting external advice, if you have a mentor or if you have a certain framework or methodology, it gives you a new lens. And a dependency makes you unable to see without it. So if you're using it to clarify your thinking, to help give you more information, yes, but you can't depend on the mentor to make a decision for you or a framework that you either it works or it doesn't work, and that's what you will go by. You need to ultimately make the decision yourself. And here's a nice example as well. The professional who reads widely and thinks for themselves is not the same as the professional who reads widely to avoid the discomfort of thinking for themselves. From the outside, it looks identical. So you read widely and you think for yourself, as opposed to reading widely to avoid discomfort or thinking for yourself. So, whatever you read in books or whatever you might be listening, even to this live as well, you can take things that might resonate, but don't just take everything. And discernment is not about knowing more, it's about knowing what matters for you in your specific context, with your specific history. And it's important that you don't outsource that discernment. So sometimes when you get into a program, there's things coming at you. You've got a mentor. Not that I'm against a mentor, not that I'm against the program, but what do you need at the end of the day? You must be in the driving seat. And you must discern for yourself what works, what doesn't work. This year, I decided I'm not attending any meetings. I'm not going to be part of any programs. I just want to work at this myself. I will get the guidance. I will look at the various, if I need guidance, I will look for it. I'll do the extra research, etc. But what I was finding is you sit in various meetings or you sit in various sessions, and there's differing things coming at you. So much so that I got confused. So now it's about going back to basics, stripping it all out, and rebuilding. Do you ever find you had to re-look at your situation and rebuild? So, name one source. Is it a person, a community, a framework that genuinely sharpens your thinking? And also name one you keep consuming, even though it hasn't actually moved you forward in a while. And a lot of us, we tend to doom scroll and take in. And there's always impressions on our minds and impressions that's being created in our heads. And we are not mindful of really how what we're consuming is impacting us. So even the person, the community, the framework that genuinely sharpens your thinking, you need to discern, are they really adding to your body of knowledge? Are they really helping shape your thinking by giving you extra information to make a decision on what you might be thinking about, or decisions that you need to make? Okay, so here's the practical shift. Yesh says YouTube can be useful or detrimental based on how I'm using it. But I usually go to a family member to talk things out, and you for your advice. That's that's good. YouTube can be used, but how you use it can either be positive or detrimental, because everybody's an expert, everyone's a guru. You have a 21-year-old who has gone through life apparently and giving you advice. Or would you go to a middle aged person and get advice from them on life? So you need to see what works for you, right? And it has to be a trusted member, family member that you talk things through, not somebody that will want to control your decisions, but it will be somebody that might play it back to you. And then you can see things clearer as well. So as I said, this live is, it's not about me being successful in YouTube. I'm in the messy middle. I made decisions and delegated parts of things that I needed to do, and things did not go as it should. And it's no fault of anybody. But I realized that I needed to take control back and do things for myself, understand it, build my YouTube channel, my business the way I wanted to do it. So I can understand, take guidance, and get to know, broaden my body of knowledge in terms of YouTube. But what I'm finding is there's no single fix for everything. You need to travel that journey yourself. So what's the practical shift? There's four moves that I want to bring across. The first one is audit your inputs. And let me just stop here. If you have any questions, please also put it into the chat. I'll attend to that in between my presentation to you. So there's the practical shifts, which is move one is audit your inputs. So you make the invisible visible. You list every person, community, program, or source you regularly go to for professional guidance. Make the invisible visible. Most people are carrying more than they realize. For each one, ask, has this changed how I actually work or just how I talk about work? So you need to list them and see, are they adding to how you actually work or how you talk about work? Would you feel a sense of loss or relief if you stopped tomorrow? So you're not deleting anything yet, you're just seeing clearly what you're carrying. So that's the audit your inputs. Then there's move two, which is locate your own thinking first. So here is where you have to sit with the real decision. Sit with it with yourself first before you engage any external person for input. Sit with the real decision. Could be whether to go for a promotion, whether to speak to somebody about your work, a difficult client, whether to take on more than you're already, even though you're already stretched. And before you call anyone, before you even engage this AI, Google, before you Google it or engage with AI, what is your decision? Write down what you actually think. And then you need to identify firstly what your thinking is and what would your possible decision be. It might be difficult if you have not been thinking, if you've been deferring the thinking to others. First, you decide, you think about it, let it sit long enough, even if it's uncomfortable. And then, if you want, you can consult somebody to play it off them. Then there's move three. Refine what a good decision feels like. So, redefine what a good decision feels like. Most of us have been trained by school, by corporate environments, by professional development culture to feel confident about a decision when other people agree with it. So when the framework supports it, when the mentor signs it off, when there's consensus in the community, that feeling of external alignment, that's when we've learned to call that's what we've learned to call confidence. But that's really not confidence. That's relief that somebody's backing you. And there's a difference. So you need to redefine what a good decision feels like. And it's about making a decision, sitting with it, and feeling grounded in it. You must be able to stand by your decision. And that's irrespective of whether other people support it or not. So, here, when I was preparing for this live, one example came to mind is when I moved from, I had a stable job as a project manager in the public sector, but I wanted to move to the private sector and become a consultant. In my mind, I knew that others might not agree with it because I was taking a pay cut, and I had to sit with that decision for a while. Am I going to Is the money going to dictate the move that I was going to make? Because it could be money that would make me not move, and because of the money as well, the way my living as well would be impacted. Or at that point in time, I was just in my 20s, and I thought, I want to actually build my skills as opposed to just look for them from a money perspective, look at that aspect. So I made the decision, and it might have been unpopular if others were looking in. But I said, I want to develop my skills. So even though I'm taking a pay cut by moving from the public sector to the private sector, I'm going to do that because my aim was to build skills. And once I made that decision, I moved over. I got a job in one of the big four consulting houses. Even though I took a pay cut, within a year, I was back to my normal pay because I had to prove myself. And within that year, I proved myself. So therefore, it was fine. But notice the decision that I was making upfront. If you looked at it externally, people would not necessarily say that's a popular decision to have made. But I knew why I was making that decision. So even if it's not popular with other people, I could stand by my own decision. And there's move four, the emotional move. And this year is where I found myself recently. And many professionals, many people, they they spend more energy thinking about how a decision will land on someone else than whether the decision is actually right. So you've already made the decision in your mind. But then you spend an hour, sometimes days, managing the reaction, softening the message, leaving a door open, choosing words that cushion the impact. And somewhere in all of that managing, the actual decision gets blurry. So, fortunately, even in this situation that I was talking to you about, this example, even though I reread my message, and I repositioned it, thought how it would land. I didn't let that go on for days. It was in that sitting, I thought about it. It wasn't just reacting, it wasn't emotional, but I did think about how another person would receive it. So that's where I was wasting time, I was wasting energy. Once I made the decision, it's about letting it go and sending it off. So some of the examples that I put down is, you need to say no to something. You know the answer is no, but instead of saying no cleanly, you say let me think about it, or maybe later. And or you write three versions of the same message trying to find one that won't create tension, and then you're exhausted, not from making the decision but from managing the delivery of it. Do you see yourself in that example? And yes, I see your question. I'm going to come to that. Then maybe you need to exit something, maybe a relationship, a commitment, a community, a working arrangement. You've known for a while it's the right thing to do. You know for a while this is what you want to do, but you keep delaying that exit because You're managing how it will land on the other person. Meanwhile, you're still in something you already know isn't working. And a lot of the times, as well, when we leave a job or a relationship, or if we say no to something, from the time of us thinking about it, making that decision to actually doing it, it's a long period of time. Might even extend to months, to years. So, really, there's nothing wrong with being thoughtful about how you communicate something that's difficult. So, it's important to give that thought. That's and really that's not what I'm getting at here. I'm talking about is the management of someone else's reaction becomes the reason you don't take the decision at all. Now that's preventing you from actually doing what you believe is right. You can't manage somebody else's reaction. And really, you can be kind in how you say something without that kindness becoming a reason not to say it. So if you've taken the decision, and here again, it's about our voice. How are you ensuring that your voice is being heard and not the other voices that's impacting it? The goal is not to learn less, it's to think more for yourself and let that learning serve the thinking, not replace it. Yesh's question is, how do you discern which are the best sources to use for feedback? I think that comes down to trust as well. You need that person needs to have a proven track record. If it's somebody on, if you're referring to somebody um, on the internet, are you following that person for a while? Is there consistency in what they're saying? What are the credentials behind the person that's saying it? So you can't just take a person at face value. It's about understanding who's giving the input. And here again, and if I ever go onto programs again as well, I will test run whether a person is actually the right fit for me. Because that person might be right for others, but they might not be right for me. So you need to identify if it's a mentor, is that person right for you? Do they align to your values? Do you see that you'll be able to interact with them? To Are you able to engage them? Do you value their feedback as well? Also, what kind of relationship is it? Is that person more dominating and imposing their views and ideas on you? Or is that person somebody that will allow you to speak and have your point of view? Is that somebody that you can sound off the ideas to without them judging you? So you need to see it, and this is a one-to-one in terms of getting that feedback from people in terms of engaging. But if you're if you want best sources to use for feedback, then and if you're using people on the internet to get input, then I would say look at their track record. Don't just judge them by one video, judge them by multiple videos. See if there's somebody that you actually want to take that input from. If you have any further questions, you can put it down because can you believe time's already gone? We're at quarter to 9 South African time. So here's the thing. For close to 30 years, I've been in the corporate world as a change and transformation specialist. And what I see, because I engage with people a lot, I see that there's capable people, capable professionals, they slowly stop trusting themselves. And it's not because they're less intelligent, it's not because they stopped working hard, but because they never stopped looking for someone else to confirm what they already knew. So we don't need to stick to what we've been taught, that somebody else needs to validate our ideas. And what I really think is the professionals who are going to navigate what's coming, the pace of change, AI impacts, the pressure of it all, they won't necessarily be the most informed people in the room. They'll be the ones who kept their own thinking. You need to have your own voice. When everything around them gets louder and more confusing, they need to know what they're going to do, so you need to be sitting and have strength in the decision that you make and stand by it. And it's not a matter of arrogance, it's a matter of knowing what you want, deciding for yourself what you want. So even me trying to do YouTube by myself, that's not arrogance. That's me realizing that there's no quick fix, there's no silver bullet to get this right. If there was a silver bullet, then everybody will have really great channels and be monetized, etc. But it's really, I want to do this, I want to go on this journey. And it is a journey, the pitfalls, the good times, and just experience it. And over the months as well, and the years that I've been doing YouTube, but with this niche that I'm working on now, it's for the last 8 months. There's things that I'm learning about YouTube, but more so I'm learning about myself. And what I want to get across in this live is look at the patterns. What are your patterns? How do you make your decisions? And when you make your decisions, do you sit with that decision? Do you support? Are you standing behind the decisions that you make? And remember, your judgment is not broken based on what others are saying. Allow yourself to even fail, because failing forward and you learning from that gives you so much information that you can actually use going forward as well. Yes, sis, thanks for a great session. I learned a lot, but also it makes me want to dig deeper into some of my habits and see how I can change things up. And that's great because that's what I want this lives to be, is let it open up things about how we just take for granted, even our decisions. We don't even realize it, but we defer it to other people. Are we actually making the decision first and then getting more input, etc., to then finalize that decision? And how do we act? Are we are we affected by other people and their responses? So it's good. I'm glad that this year will make you look at your own habits. Your judgment is not as broken as the volume of advice you're consuming suggests it is. So believe in your own judgment. It's not broken if you sit with it long enough. If you'd like to work through this more personally, I offer a structured 45-minute clarity conversation called the Calm Performance Reset. It's for professionals dealing with workload, mental load, and requiring some kind of direction. So just talking it out, but not making the decision for you. The link to the book and to this session is in the description below. So take the first step before you ask anyone, before you can consult on anything. Identify what you actually think. And this is the thought that I'd like to leave you with. Before you ask anyone, think about what decision would you like to make and take. Then you test it. Then stand by that decision you ultimately make. Live by it or learn from it. Either way, it's yours. And even if it's the wrong decision, you can come back to it and course correct. And that's where growth really happens. So thank you for joining me. Be kind to yourself. Remember always you matter. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. And yeah, join me for the midweek reboot. I'll see you for now. Bye. Take care.